Good afternoon, everyone. This meeting of the Liverpool Plains Shire Council is being live streamed to Council's website, and a webcast of this meeting will be published to Council's website at www.liverpoolplains.newsouthwales.gov.au, so that is available for viewing by members of the public. Can we please stand for the acknowledgement of country and council prayer by Councillor Cullen.
Today we gather on the land of the Milwayi Nation. We therefore need to acknowledge the traditional owners and custodians of this land. We also pay our respect to the Aboriginal elders, both past and present, and further extend that respect to the other adults who may have joined us today. Council prayer. Lord, we ask that you watch over this council. Guide us in our deliberations and decisions for the betterment of all people of our Shire and Australia.
Thank you, Councillor Cullen. Before we start the meeting, I'd just like to welcome our new directors. Julie Costa has started on Monday, is the Director of Planning and Community, and Daniel Smallwood, who is our Director of Corporate Performance and CFO, and George Barobiev, who is our Acting Director of Infrastructure and Utilities. So I'd like to welcome to the council meeting. I think George has been here before, but for Julie and Daniel, welcome and good luck in your roles. Apologies and applications for leave of absence by councillors or attendance by audio visual link by councillors. Is there any apologies for leave of absence? 3.1 minutes of the council meeting held on the 23rd of July 2025. The recommendation one that the minutes of the council meeting held on the 23rd of July 2025 be received and the recommendations therein be adopted. Do I have a motion, please? Councillor Lawson. Do I have a seconder? Please. Councillor Kane. Does the mover wish to speak to the motion? Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? No. If not, all in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Disclosures of interests. Are there any conflicts of interest in matters under consideration of the ordinary meeting in accordance with Part 4 and Part 5 of the Code of Conduct? Are there?
Not this month, Mr. Mayor.
If not, we'll move on. 5.1, the mayoral minute, meetings, functions and events. The recommendation, 1, note the meetings and functions and events attended by the Mayor in official capacity on behalf of the Liverpool Plains Shire Council for the month of July 25. As detailed in this report, I'd like to move this report. Do I have a second, please? Councillor Simpkin. Anyone wishing to speak for or against the motion? If not, all in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. 6.1, Resolutions Register Update. The recommendation that Council 1 receive and note the Resolutions Register as at the 17th of August 2025 as appended to Annex A and the Resolution Register for 2023 and 2024 as appended to Annex B. Do I have a motion, please? Councillor Simpkin. Do I have a second, please? Councillor Lawson. Does the mover wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Simpkin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick one on Resolution 2025/57 with regard to the Werris Creek Industrial Precinct Project Review. I know that there's a further comment about that in the ARIC report. Just wondering if that report could be circulated to councillors at this time. Thank you.
Through the General Manager.
Thank you, Councillor Kane, and through the Mayor. Sorry, Councillor Simpkin, I'm used to getting other questions. Sorry, Councillor Simpkin, that report it is in currently draft mode. It has been tabled at the most recent meeting of the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee. I have drafted some management responses to the matters raised within that report, and I will circulate that to councillors.
Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? If not, all in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. 6.2, statutory review of the Code of Meeting Practice. The recommendation that Council 1 endorse the draft Code of Meeting Practice appended at Annex A for public exhibition for a period of 28 days and adopt the updated Code of Meeting Practice as exhibited, subject to no submissions being received. Do I have a motion, please? Councillor Simkin, would you like to make an amendment?
Yes, I'm happy to move the motion on the basis of this amendment, if you're happy to hear it. So the recommendation be amended to note that Council 1 amend item 8.1 order of business for ordinary council meetings and the Code of Meeting Practice to include the following as item 01. Acknowledgement of country and council prayer or affirmation. 2, endorse the draft Code of Meeting Practice noting the above amendment appended at Annex A for public exhibition for a period of 28 days and adopt the updated Code of Meeting Practice as exhibited, subject to no submissions being received. The reasoning behind the amendment to include affirmation within there is simply for a matter of inclusivity for all of the councillors to be able to partake in that at the start of council meetings. Thank you.
Do I have a second for the amendment? Councillor Lawson. Is everyone aware of the amendment, of what it entails? Councillor Lawson, do you want to speak?
Can we just have the wording of that?
You happy, Councillor Lawson?
I just wanted to be careful about the grammar about that, so that it is council prayer or affirmation, as that is the two choices. We're not dropping off the acknowledgement of country in order to have an affirmation. Thank you.
I suppose, from what I can gather, the idea is still have an acknowledgement of country, and then you have the council prayer or the affirmation.
I'm just saying as long as it can be worded so that can't be misinterpreted.
No. So we'll vote on the amendment. All in. Hang on.
I've just got a question. Does that affect my strong feelings on both of those? Have I still got the opportunity to leave?
I'll have to pass that to the General Manager.
Thank you, Councillor Robertson. So that would not impact your current practice.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Kane, you look bemused.
Yeah, Mr Mayor, I'm not speaking against the motion by any means and will support it, but I'd just like to probably a comment on the acceptance of some of these very long documents that are put before relatively new councillors. One thing I noticed we don't seem to do, and it was a famous line of Kerry Packer, if we create a new law, we don't often repeal past laws. In this particular document, there could be quite a significant amount of changes, but if you aren't familiar with the old practice, the old documents, it's very hard to select what you're actually voting on. So my question would be, maybe for further business down the road, when council puts up this type of document, and there's another few to pass after this one, would it be at all possible that the alterations to the old existing documents be put in a very small brief for councils? Instead of trudging through such a significant and heavily worded document, if we could just have a small brief of what's actually changed, what we will be adopting now compared to the past or rescinded documents. Thank you.
I'll just pass that to the General Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Kane. So in answer to that question, most certainly we can. We can either do that as a brief. We can also ensure that the policies governing up actually use track changes to show changes so that both you as councillors as well as those reading the business paper can follow changes. If I could speak to this particular item. So under the Local Government Act, we have to review our code of meeting practice within 12 months following each election. In relation to the code of meeting practice, as well as the subsequent items being the code of conduct, there are no changes beyond that we've just discussed and moved now. So this is based on the model code of meeting practice issued by the Office of Local Government, and the next item being the code of conduct is also based on the model. What I would also say, and this is flagged in the report, but for those watching the live stream, is the Office of Local Government has confirmed we are expecting an updated code of meeting practice and code of conduct sometime this year. We haven't been given a time frame for that, but the Minister for Local Government is releasing new models. Unfortunately, it doesn't negate our responsibility to still formally re-adopt this by September. So while we will consider this and adopt this today, councillors can expect the code of meeting practice and code of conduct coming back at some point. Thank you.
So everyone's aware we're voting on the amendment. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. 6.3, the statutory review of the Code of Conduct, the recommendation that Council 1, pursuant to section 440(3) of the Local Government Act of 1993 and clause 180(1) of the Local Government Act General Regulation 2021, adopt the draft Code of Conduct appended at Annexure A, and 2, repeal the Code of Conduct adopted on the 26th of October 2022. Do I have a motion, please? Councillor Lawson, do I have a seconder? Councillor Simkin, does the mover wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Lawson.
I'm just trying to see if this is the right one, because there's a few of these that we're moving today. But I believe that it says in here that there's only been minor formatting changes to the Code of Conduct. We're just having to review it as per the statutory requirement. So there's no real changes to it from last time. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? Councillor Robinson.
Yeah, my question is, there's been times where I have been misled or alternative facts put to me over issues that I bring up. I wonder if there's any fallback as far as that goes coming from staff that's happened in here recently. Thank you.
I'll pass that on to the General Manager, thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Robertson. What I would begin with is by reminding councillors that individual personnel matters should not be discussed in forums such as this. But in answer to your question, councillor, if you believe that a council official, be that a council employee, be that management or staff, or another council official, that could be a councillor or it could be a member of a council committee, but if you have grounds to believe any council official has breached the Code of Conduct, there is the option for you to lodge a complaint under the Code of Conduct. As the General Manager, I need to treat and manage all complaints received in accordance with the procedures. Both of those documents, both being the code and the procedures for its administration, are available and published to Council's website. They are also published to the website of the Office of Local Government. In managing any complaints received under the code, I actually have to, I have a statutory responsibility to report each year to the Office of Local Government, so there is a lot of transparency and probity around that process. So in answer to your question, yes, if you believe that the Code of Conduct has been breached, you can lodge a complaint with me, but I will just remind councillors, this is probably not the forum to discuss any allegations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does that answer your question, Joe?
Yeah, thank you.
So, no one else wishing to speak for or against the motion? If not, all in favour? Against? Carried. 6.4, the statutory review of the council expenses and facilities policy. The recommendation of Council 1 pursuant to sections 252 and 253 of the Local Government Act of 1993 endorse the draft council expenses and facilities policy appended at Annexure B on public exhibition for a period of 28 days and adopt the draft policy as exhibited, subject to no submissions being received, and 2, request a further report At the conclusion of the public exhibition period, if submissions are received on the draft council expenses and facilities policy. Do I have a motion, please? Councillor Allen, do I have a second? Councillor Lawson? Does the mover wish to speak to the motion?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion?
Thank you.
If not, all in favour? Against? Carried unanimously, thank you. 6.5, the 2024-2025 Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee Annual Self-Assessment. The recommendation that Council 1 receive and note the results of the 2024 Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee Self-Assessment appended at Annexure A. Do I have a motion, please? Councillor Cohen, do I have a second, please? Councillor Lawson. Does the mover wish to speak to the motion?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Anyone else wish to speak for or against the motion? If not, all in favour? Against? Carried unanimously, thank you. 7.1, monthly statement of investments for July 2025. The recommendation that Council 1 receive and note the statement of investments as of the 30th of July 2025 is appended to Annexure A, and 2, receive and note the Imperium Markets monthly investment review report for Liverpool Plain Shire Council as of the 31st of July 2025 as appended at Annexure B. Do I have a motion, please? Councillor Lawson, seconder, please. Councillor Cohen. Does the mover wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Lawson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Tran, for this report. There's another report for the investment review there. I know that it's saying that we should look at perhaps locking in some rates to make sure that we're continuing to have good returns on our term deposits, and maybe look at some of the, well, rated, I shouldn't say, but not the banks that there's certainly we've got some investments in the A2 level. I noticed there that Regional Australia Bank is on that report there. I'm just thinking that since it's a bank that's operating in Greenbelt, that might be a good one to consider, just one of our A2 investments, because that's what it's rated in the short term, not on the long term. So you're just going to they support our community, so we might want to look at that. Thanks.
You want comment from the staff? Or the General Manager?
If they want.
Yeah, I'll ask the Manager of Finance to address the first point.
Sorry, very new to this. Thank you for that feedback, Councillor Lawson. We are, as the report suggests, been entrusted to try to take advantage of some longer term investments to try to maintain some higher interest rates. RBA obviously anticipating another 2 rate cuts, so obviously we have to balance that with our cash flows. And I will note your suggestion of submitting an application so that we can bank with Regional Australia Bank.
Thank you very much. Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? Councillor Cohen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to endorse Councillor Lawson's comments and congratulate our finance staff for the presentation of this report. Just one quick question, if I can, as to what sort of principal amounts we would be looking to invest in over what sort of returns would you be looking in relation to these extended investments?
Thank you, Councillor Cohen. Obviously, we are in early stages yet. We have a number of term deposits maturing in September, and we also have our rates income currently in that bank. We've now got our new director on board, who will be able to give some oversight into. We have to be mindful that we obviously our cash is secure with project payments, etc. So we're just sort of experimenting, dare I say, at the moment, pushing smaller amounts out past the 12-month to 3-year timeframe. So that is actually working.
Thank you very much. Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? If not, all in favour? Against? Carried unanimously, thank you. 7.2, minutes of the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee meeting held on the 1st of August 2025. The recommendation of Council 1 received the minutes appended down into A of the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee meeting held on the 1st of August 2025, and the recommendations therein be adopted. Do I have a motion, please? Councillor Cohen, second. Councillor Kane. Does the member wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, Mr.
Councillor Cohen.
Thanks very much, Mayor. Look, I'd just like to firstly thank Jared for the way in which he's now expanded the ARIC minutes, so that councillors may be a little bit more aware of some of the discussions that go on at these meetings. And in relation to the actual minutes, I'd just like to say that the chairman and the independent members of the ARIC did raise some concerns in relation to various matters inside this ARIC meeting minute, and most of them are pretty well mentioned in there. But I would just like to say that the internal audit raised some pretty ordinary type matters in relation to our procurements and things which are not uncommon across the board and with other councils. But our general manager has indicated that we will get some different results and he'll make some more comments in relation to various matters raised in this report. Another matter that the chairman raised particular concern about was that we have a particularly high debtor, which he would like to see quantified and see that council is pursuing it to all extents. We were able to say that we had expended some money to try and get a little bit of favouritism or a bit of front running in relation to that present liquidation of that debt. But the ARIC were concerned about the size of the debtor and where it was and how long it had been current on our books. And they did raise concerns in relation to, and this also is also something that council is already dealing with, but they did raise concerns in relation to the military waste management and the position we are in relation to a likely over-budget situation with that. That's the position at the moment, and I'd just like to congratulate Jared for expanding, and I hope the rest of the councillors have been able to deduct some better information from those minutes. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Jan, for comment?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Cohen. It was a big Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee meeting. Unfortunately, it wasn't all good news, as you alluded to. Probably the highlight was, of course, the external audit is progressing on schedule, and credit to the finance team for their work in doing that. The audit puts incredible pressure on our organisation, and in particular our finance team, but they have done some great work moving through that. But as Councillor Cohen did point out, there were a number of items of business that the committee is concerned about. I don't think any of it would come as a surprise to those in this chamber, but the key issues around project management, around budget oversight and around accountability. If I was to reduce, I guess, the concerns, that is how I would describe them. There is a lot of work for the incoming executive team to do. I do not believe it is insurmountable at all. It's just about putting in the systems and the processes and making sure that we are reporting on time, both to you as elected body, but also to our Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee, and giving that committee the respect that it deserves. But I'm very much committed to working with the incoming directors to do just that. In relation to the legal matter that Councillor Cohen touched on, I am yet to brief the incoming Director of Planning and Community on the history of that particular matter, but I'm sure she will relish it. But yes, thank you, Councillor Cohen. It was a very big and very productive meeting.
Thank you, General Manager. Councillor Kane.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too would second the remarks that have been made by Councillor Cohen. I think I might have been one of the councillors that made requests regarding this be known to the councillors, the actual results, or not results, the minutes of the ARIC meeting. There is the last item in the report is the Werris Creek Industrial Estate. There's some very serious, or some large figures there, so I hope we're on top of that regarding council's input to that particular project. I would just like to say it's very, very relevant to the operations of this council in the past, I believe. It's on page 180, page 5 of the report. A very, very simple line. It says, the committee suggested that council consider lessons learned sessions at the completion of every project. And I think that's one thing that this council has not done. As far as I have been a councillor, seen and my prior time to viewing minutes, etc., of council. So I really hope that one simple line is very, very significant. And I think after a few projects that have been done during grant money, etc., too easy do we say it's only grant money. It's grant money that you need the biggest bang for your buck, because eventually that grant money is going to stop, or we will not receive it. So I really think we need to take that on. Lessons learned sessions at the completion of every project, being a multi-million dollar project or a very, very simple one. So, but I do think that the report we now receive is excellent. I mean, it really gives us as councillors a great indication of what's occurring elsewhere and what pressure, to an extent, the directors and the general manager are on by an independent body. I think it's wonderful. Transparency and openness, it's so important these days. So I think it's really good news. So thank you, Steve.
Well said, Councillor Cohen. Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? Anyone? Councillor Simpkin, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I won't harp, but again, the more detail in the report's fantastic. One thing that was really pleasing, and I'm going to presume making assumptions why it's in there around the risk of around the Eastside Childcare Centre being most likely related to the statutory requirements of people in that role. Is that the reason that has been brought up in front of the ARIC, or is it something from a resourcing perspective, something that we're going to see across council's organisational structure? And yeah, just further for the Werris Creek Industrial Precinct, we'll just hang fire until that report comes out. Thank you.
General Manager.
Thank you, Councillor Simpkin. So in answer to your question, which I think was around why this particular facility or service was audited, yep, that's a good question. I believe our internal audit program was amended prior to me commencing to include this particular facility as part of our internal audit program. We have undertaken a number of reviews into Eastside Childcare Centre over recent years that focused on the actual service component, around quality improvement. This follows our recent external, I guess we go through a quality assurance process from state authorities in relation to Childcare Centre. There is a lot happening within the sector generally. I think it's hard to watch the evening news now and not hear more about what's happening in childcare. Certainly there will be, and this was raised in the internal audit, there will be some decisions for council around how we respond to those and improvements to our internal controls that will come out of this. The Director of Planning and Community will be working on a improvement plan for this facility, working with our Childcare Centre Coordinator, who has returned from long service leave, to actually develop a plan to respond to these findings.
Thank you, Councillor Lawson.
First of all, I'd just like to say I agree with Councillor Cohen. Thank you to Jared for presenting these minutes to everyone. Having served on the ARIC before, I found it very beneficial, so it's really good that all of that information can come out to all the councillors.
although any councillor can also attend those meetings if they wish, as an observer. Also, very much in agreement with Councillor Kane's comments around the lessons learned. I believe that was one of the things brought up in the draft review that we've had, which is why I asked for that review at the end of that project when it was not going ahead. So yeah, I think that is definitely something that needs to be part of our usual project management. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lawson. Anyone else wish to speak for or against the motion? If not, all in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Seven point three, delivery program 2022 to 2026, full year progress report, January to June 2025. The recommendation the council one receive and note the delivery program full year progress report from January to June 2025 as appended at Annexure A. Do I have a motion? Councillor Lawson, do I have a seconder? Councillor Kane. Does the mover wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Lawson.
I just had a question on one part of that report where it was talking about the road repairs and resheeting. If that included the work that was done north of Werris Creek, because it just didn't seem like a lot of kilometres compared to what work I've seen done around the Shire in the last financial year. So I was just wondering if it included that or if that was under a different section. And just another question, if I can load them up. Which two bridges were identified as being impaired and just what our next steps are to rectify that? That was through some funding provided to make an assessment of those. Sorry, and I understand it needs to be taken on notice, I just wanted to bring them up. So thank you.
Through the General Manager.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So I believe the first action you're referring to is 1.4.2.1, which is on page 207 of the business paper, for my senior staff following along. And that is, we've said we've completed 100% of resealing and heavy patching in 11 kilometres of road maintenance. Is that the action?
Yes.
Yes. So I will defer to the Director of Infrastructure.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Look, my understanding is that that work was completed and we've documented that. Can I also extend the discussion to the bridges? So from my understanding, the two bridges that have been identified, if I'm not wrong, is Gap Road Bridge. And the other one...
It did not specify a report.
Yeah, okay, well, that we should address. And also was the, I think it's Bunella Road, where the heavy vehicle crashed through the barrier. So both of those bridges, along with two other bridges, have been assessed, and we just received the reports. So we're just going through that process, and my understanding is the bridge with the guardrail that's being repaired at the moment, and my understanding it should have been finished today. And the Gap Road Bridge, we've dropped speed limits down, and we've got an assessment done on it, and we've got a short-term solution, which was really the road which is horrible, to say the least. So I've implemented a short-term solution, and we're going through a due process to look at a long-term solution. But I'd just like to add, I've been around for 45 years, and innovation's great, and sometimes innovation's applied in the wrong place. And to me, that is a classic example where we should not have probably built that type of style of bridge in that location. It probably suited to a lower volume road. So we start with that, and we're hoping that our long-term solution with that bridge will implement a better service for a longer duration. So I hope that has answered the question.
Thank you very much. All right.
Oh, it's just there.
Councillor Lawson.
Thank you for that. It just didn't actually identify which bridges it was put out, so thank you for that. Yeah, just all I was wondering was in the 11 kilometres of road maintenance, was when we do a complete sort of rebuild of the road, like what's done north of Werris Creek, is that included as maintenance or is that something else? Because it says 100% resealing and heavy patching completed on sealed roads
and 11 kilometres of road maintenance was completed for the year. I just wondered if the work that was done, like where they're rebuilding the road, was additional to that, and we haven't actually recorded that, because that was quite a significant project that was done there as well. Thank you.
Through you, Mr.
Christie.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I was gathering information based on others, so I'd have to look into that. So could I put on motion to gather that information, clarify that? Yeah. So for instance, Bora Creek Road was one of those probably just finished at the end of June, and the only thing that wasn't completed was the seal. And my gut feeling is we included that. But yeah, it's not as clear as day how that fits in, whether it's rebuilding or just a treatment yet. So, good point, and I'd like to clarify that next time we issue that report.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll go on to Councillor Simpson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Understanding that the majority of the people in the room, this has been their first, or haven't been here very long, but there's a couple of things. 1.4.2.1, the comment of 100% of resealing is really not representative of what's going on because of the issues they had on the project on Werris Creek Road, where the final seal wasn't allowed for in the project budgeting, so they took that out of the reseal program, so that's a little bit misleading, to say the least. Look further, the comment 11 kilometres of road maintenance is rather ambiguous. I think there's quite a bit of work to be done in the manner in which some of this is reported through to councils. And look, I think there's a lot of work to be done in that section. My only other point is 2.1.1.1, register of grant written capital and operational projects. Obviously understanding that the structure's not finalised and our current director's in acting capacity. I'm not saying that we're going to change the world, but this is most certainly an area I think that all councillors can get on board with getting our shovel-ready projects and the way we manage those in order. In saying that, we understand that from a staffing perspective or executive level perspective, we're still trying to finalise where everyone's sitting, but I don't want that to, at some point we as a group still need to be able to say, what are we doing to make these changes? Because the manner in which these projects have had issues, and it's not just in the roads area, the manner in which they're going on, it's easy to say, oh, you know, we're still working on it, putting people in place, but at some point that's going to run pretty thin. So I just wanted to highlight that I think that action is a really, really good action to get some tangible change and deliver some good results. But that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Simpson. Councillor Robinson?
I'd just like to ask a question about the Girton Street Bridge. To me, why it was put at an angle that it is now, it's not 90 degrees to the flow, and it's such a deep bridge, it's causing a fair bit of turbulence and cutting the volume down. And also on the 3.111, Werris Creek flood damage study. Like, if we're going to try and push Werris Creek, why hasn't that study been completed and just down to 5%? So, and also 3.512, you mentioned 6 charges have been installed. Was there no money spent on those projects from the Liverpool Plains because it should have been funded by the state government? Thank you.
Through the General Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Robertson. In relation to the first point around the Werris Creek flood study, my understanding of that was council hadn't allocated budget for it. It was to be a grant-funded project, and that the staff responsible unfortunately did not make up application for any funding. The new Director of Planning and Community has had a background in flood studies, so, sorry, Director, this is the second one I'm adding to your list, but we will be looking at how we can complete this next year and whether it needs to actually be put through our operational planning process as something that council funds. Or if not, set a target for how many applications that we can submit. In relation to your second point around the solar panels, I will need to take that question on notice, Councillor.
Thank you, General Manager. Councillor Kane.
Mr. Mayor, just a question. I'm just not sure whether Councillor Simpson quoted the same action group. It's 2.1.1.1. Yeah, it was a point that I had interest to, and maybe we could be just told it's one of those grey traffic lights we spoke about. What is actually going to happen in that field? Will that become a position or just another requirement of one of our new directors? Because as Councillor Simpson said, that's extremely important that we are ready. If grants are going to get pretty tough to get, we need to be super ready. The other one that I had highlighted, but I'm really answering my own question because I see it's mentioned further in a later report today. It's regarding 1.22.1, which goes back on page 204. But it's our setting up of our local advisory groups. It was at a very low stage, but that's taken a great jump in this particular month. So that traffic light should be changing to green very shortly. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Through the General Manager, comment?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Kane. I'll answer the second point first. And yes, so sadly, this report is a progress report up until the 30th of June. So it is meant to reflect our progress during the last financial year. So yes, we have made some further progress on the local advisory committees, and we will continue to do so. We are recommending that one be re-established today, and I have extended the closing date for others in hope that we can have further committees established. In relation to your first point and the point that Councillor Simpkin raised as well, I think if we just go back to first principles, I think it's safe to say that we being the executive team, have a lot of work to do in terms of strengthening and improving our project management framework, from low to go, from project design and scoping to the lessons learned exercise that the ARIC raised. So it is on my list. When I return from annual leave, that is going to be one of my first points. But what I will say is we have recently appointed a manager engineering assets and projects. So we are elevating projects to that management level. We are very fortunate to have had an internal candidate appointed to that role, Mr. Luke Whitten, who has been with council for many years and who has some really good ideas about the work that needs to be done in that space. Certainly, as an executive team and as the GM, I will be maintaining executive oversight of the work we've got to do in project management, but we have got to develop a framework, we've got to do training, and yes, certainly we do need to get to that point where we can have a register of grant-ready projects that we know stack up, and that state and federal bodies have confidence in knowing that if they do fund us, given the recent situation with the Werris Creek intermodal, that we have the capacity and the ability to deliver those.
Thank you.
Councillor Kane.
Thank you. Yes.
Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? If not, all in favour? Yes. Carried. Unanimously, thank you. 7.4, the review of information and records of management policy. The recommendation of Council 1, place the draft information and record management policy appended Atlantic Terrain public exhibition for a period of 28 days. And 2, receive a further report following the conclusion of the public exhibition period, or if no submissions are received, adopt the draft information and record management policy as exhibited. Do I have a motion, please? Councillor Robinson, seconded Councillor Simpkin. Does the mover wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. On the, I'd just like to know how records seem to go missing. Like there's been an incident at Walluwadar where there was a fall and lady broke her arm. When her husband fell over and opened his knee up, there was not a record of the first incident, even though it had been reported. and that was a period of 18 months prior. So how does this office lose such important records? Thank you.
Through the General Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Robertson. I can't speak to that specific matter. I can recollect you have raised this with me, and I will investigate that. But generally, we have a records management system, and that is organisation-wide. All staff are required to manage and store and collect and dispose of records in accordance with this policy, but also in accordance with our legislative obligations under State Records Act. But essentially, in answer to your question, each individual employee is responsible for making sure that their records, be they records they've created, be they records that have been created from customers who they've interacted with, are captured into our record system. So that is very much an individual responsibility. And yes, we've always, it's a constant battle, doing that training and reminding staff, because it is very easy at the end of a busy day to, I guess, neglect putting records into our system, but it is a very important exercise for the points you've just raised. The other point I would say is our customer request system, which we call our CRM, is in a different system entirely to our record system. So part of the work that we're doing in IT over time will be to actually link those to make sure that there's, those two systems are speaking to each other. But in answer to your question, it is very much on the individual employee to capture their own records.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Robinson.
Yes, thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? If not, all in favour? Against? Carried unanimously, thank you. 8.1, repeal of curb and gutter policy, footpath policy, disposal of surplus equipment policy, and corporate property and disposal of land policy. The recommendation, Council 1, repeal the curb and gutter policy, appended at Annex B. 2, repeal the footpath policy, appended at Annex B. 3, repeal the disposal of surplus equipment policy, appended at Annex C. And 4, repeal the corporate property and disposal of land policy, appended at Annex B. Do I have a motion, please? Councillor Robinson, second, please. Councillor Cohen. Thank you. Does the member wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Robinson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It gets back to that footpath again. It's been deemed years ago that it was too narrow. It's only 900 wide. At times I've seen people on gophers heading into oncoming traffic on a national highway. There's been an incident there and no one has actually gone out and marked it at all yet. And there's also an incident where a resident has had water directly channeled through the house with heavy rain. On the top side of the road there is a curb and guttering. On the low side there is nothing. And this has been a problem for years. They've had several communications over this and they're just trying to find a solution. They've put some extra dirt round to try to create a contour bank, and it's just on the corner of Young Street. Thank you.
I assume this is a Wallaby, Councillor Robinson.
Grindle.
Grindle. I'll pass that on to the General Manager.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Thanks, Councillor Robertson. I'll take that on notice, and I'll follow up that particular matter with the Director of Infrastructure.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, one is in Wallaby and the other one's in Grindle. So, yeah, thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? Councillor Simkin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not in detail across the asset management plans, but the curb and gutter policy and footpath policy both have financial implications for the funding of new footpath and curb and gutter and the co-contribution of adjoining ratepayers. I don't believe that that's addressed in the asset management plans, and subsequently there is a financial impact. Can anyone shed any light onto whether council are just going to forego those? By accepting this, is council just going to forego those co-contributions? Thank you.
The other general manager for comment.
No, thank you, Mr Mayor, thank you, Councillor Simpson, that's a very good point. So I should say this report, while it says it was authored by the Acting Director of Infrastructure, it was authored by his predecessor who has left the organisation, and so we haven't actually discussed that particular point, but you are correct in that the policies do speak to issues not addressed in the asset management plans. I think given that, if councillors would be comfortable, and I do apologise, but could this, would councillors be comfortable if this lay on the table?
Yeah.
Thank you. So that we don't vote on it, we just lay it on the table.
So the report, so 8.1, we will lay over until we get more advice on how we move forward. Everybody happy with that? So 8.2, the monthly water and wastewater status report. The recommendation of Council 1, receive and note the monthly water and wastewater status report for July 2025. Do I have a motion? Councillor Singer. Second, please. Councillor Allen. Does the mover wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Singer.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I just note within the body of that report, and I'll just find the page number, my apologies, page 262, EPA.1, tertiary treatment in the suspended solids. There's some pretty, well, the red makes it more confronting than it probably needs to be, but some of those numbers are reasonably high. Understand you might have to take some notice, but I think maybe some education from the relevant managers to the councillors or myself anyway might be appropriate in understanding, because the water and sewer manager is very, very diligent in his reporting every month, but for lay people, they look great, but understand what the numbers mean is a little bit different to me. So, thank you.
Comment from the bench.
Brilliant, Mr Mayor. Thank you for that comment. I agree, some of our challenges of presenting the information is complex at times. I've sort of already suggested to the General Manager that we hold a workshop that covers these issues, and that includes automated water meters, etc. So I'm hoping that we can get that on the agenda for the October workshop, and that will be addressed there. So, yep, I hear what you're saying.
Thank you very much. Councillor, you're right.
Yeah.
Councillor Kane.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. It's just a comment, and it's not in red, but it should be. It's on page 260, and this has become a topic that becomes very heated when it's discussed, but it does need to be raised, and it does need to be noted by councillors regarding the Capoli Dam blue-green algal biovolume scale. And of course this reflects with the possible use of Capoli Dam for recreational purposes. You might notice the graph, and for the people that are viewing, the very high alert is around 8 as far as the standard goes for blue-green algal biovolume in water. And we see November, it starts to rise and hits the very high alert, which will be a summer season. December it peaks, which is understandable for the warmth regarding water and algal blooms. But as I said, the alert level is a figure of 8, and at the moment in this particular peak period of March, it hits a figure of 90. So it's a very descriptive graph of what is the problem with Kapolly Dam regarding its very, very quick rise of algal blooms. And of course the algal blooms, although we can manage those blooms with the new filtration process, obviously they will be under a red alert system there, which actually shows the drinking water alert level is very high steady. A recreational alert for fishing is a red alert. So it's just worth noting that council staff very diligently logs this, and as you can see, it's a real problem water catchment and asset that we have. And luckily we have some high-tech filtration, but to introduce contact with that water would be a considerable cost to us to manage. So it's something we really need to look at when we start workshopping the possibility of or any, if there is any consideration, opening the dam up for some type of aquatic use. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, councillor Kane. Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? Councillor Lawson.
Just wanted to point out on that graph that the figure that was mentioned of being above 90, that's looking at the highest on record. It's actually the broken blue line that is the average levels. So as you can see, we remain below the high alert rate on average between June and late December, early January, and then it usually goes up from there. Obviously, we've had a bit of a spike at the moment this year, which I'd say is probably in part due to the amount of rain that we've had coming in to the dam. So, not sure. It's unusual for it to spike at this time of the year. Thanks.
Thank you, councillor Lawson. Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? If not, all in favour? Against? Carried unanimously, thank you. 8.3, monthly works report. The recommendation of council 1, receive and note the monthly works report for July 2025. Do I have a motion, please? Councillor Lawson, seconder, Councillor Robinson. Does the mover wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Lawson.
Thank you for this report. You can see there's been a lot going on in this area. We've had the pleasure of driving Waverley Road when it had just been sealed. But yeah, it's certainly a good upgrade there. Just wondering, I noticed the Bora Creek Road being completed, which was wonderful, just in time for all of the rain events that we had, and I have heard feedback that there's sections of that that unfortunately have already been affected by the recent rain events. I was just wondering if we were eligible, if there were any things on offer as far as that flooding goes, that we can apply for funding for repair works. Thank you.
To the General Manager.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, thanks for that question. Basically, we did have one defect, and it's one of those things where I tried to get the historical reason why the culvert pipe was located in what I believe now, in hindsight, is the wrong location, and we believe we can, with minimal cost, repair that, so we wouldn't be seeking any grant funding to repair that or flood damage repair. So yeah, look, it's one of those things where historically we try not to move the original culverts, and unfortunately that heavy rainfall, the water decided to go elsewhere and damage the new seal. Now, if that seal had been 5 years old, it probably would have survived. It's just that it was a fresh seal and it just took, unfortunately, the brunt of that extra rainfall.
Thank you very much. Right, Councillor Lawson.
Yeah, thank you. Just I was going
And
to say,
hang on.
obviously that one fell foul of the recent rain. That was unfortunate. I was just wondering also more generally, with all the flooding that we've had, whether we're eligible for any flood damage repair type grants. Thank you.
To the General Manager.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and thank you, Mayor. The Acting Director and I have recently met with a representative from Transport for New South Wales, and we discussed that, being that we haven't been captured as part of a disaster affected area in the way that other councils have. So unfortunately, the most recent event, we are not able to see any, I guess, additional funding. But if and when we are able to seek funding, we of course do make use of that.
Sorry, for you, Mr. Mayor, can I just add, I just heard on the news today that the New South Wales government released more funding for road patching, etc. So once we get details of that, we could utilise that funding. So it was just an announcement today, so I haven't seen the fine print. But hopefully we can utilise that funding.
Anyone else wishing to speak for or against Councillor Robinson?
Yes, thank you. I had quite a few residents up Bolivar Creek Road giving a fair bit of praise on the road work that was done up there. There was a heap of gravel carted up there, and it was laid down, and it's probably the best it's been in sort of 15, 20 years, coming from some of those. On the other side, I've had someone contact me about the Windy Road and the road work that's just gone on there. There's big goolies that, you know, the size of cricket balls that have just been graded to the edge. The water has been left lying on the road. There's no sort of tail drains. And also, talking about the flood damage, with the movement of the material in the creeks, what's happening with those slugs and all the erosion that has been occurring there for, you know, 12 months, 18 months. Is there any funding out at the moment to repair those? That's going to be a huge cost to us. Thank you.
Further General Manager?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'll address some of those issues, but so we finally got grant funding to replace or repair 20 causeways. So we're in the process of identifying that work. One of the challenges that grant funding was probably initiated around 2022, prior to the New South Wales flood inquiry, which looked for betterment rather than like for like. So we unfortunately only got funding like for like, which is a bit sad because the goal now is to have the betterment approach, which is to improve the erosion around the causeways, etc. So we're doing our best to utilise that funding to target a optimum solution with the limited funding we got for those grants. So that covers the causeways. There has been minor erosion around some of the causeways. We tried to repair that just using gravel rather than improving, like using gabions or something like that to provide long-term erosion protection. Our ultimate goal will be to try and look at those causeways that continually get erosion and find better solutions for that using gabions or whatever. So that's just that. Thanks for the feedback for Bolivar Creek. Yep, I've been using that road and looking at that road too and how it's performing. And in fact, this afternoon after this meeting, I'm going to look at Normal Creek. Is it Normal Road? Normal Street? Yeah. Yeah, there's a causeway there that I want to inspect and something looks like it's going on there. So yeah, we're trying to follow up with a lot of those.
Thank you very much. All right, Councillor Robinson.
Yeah, mainly talking about the erosion in Cricketite from the slugs, like you've got Gollins Fields, Girton Street Bridge, below Pete's Corner, those sort of things, and also Fuller's Lane has got an issue with two culverts that I've sent some photos in too. The farmer out there continually fills it in. They talked about maybe extending the culvert, but the two along there definitely need some work done. One had some concrete put there and then it's been undermined. So if a vehicle pulls off the side, they will just go straight into the culvert, and that's Fuller's Lane. It's only just south of the village. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Robinson. Do you last comment?
No, we're just looking into that.
Right, thank you very much. You're right, council. Anyone else wishing to speak? Councillor Simpkin.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. And I don't want to speak on Councillor Robinson's behalf, but what I think he's referring to is the risk associated with riverine erosion to council assets. There was recently some social media conversation around a tree removal and its impact, the removal around the waterline, around the, I think, water and sewer infrastructure. And I think, not wanting to speak on his behalf, but I think that largely there are several locations where the riverine erosion is getting quite close to some pretty critical assets. Understanding that from a legislative point of view, it's not entirely clear as to who is responsible, and the funding isn't clear about who can obtain funding, but it is a concern within the community, and whether it's through an advocacy approach or through an operational approach, I think some level of consideration might be pertinent. Thank you.
Really, Mr Mayor, that's a very good comment. So what we've noticed that we've got quite a few issues relating to the erosion around Quirindi Creek and its banks. So our first initiative was to document it. So we've done drone footage now, all the way from the tennis court, all the way past that tree that we just removed. So we've now got some evidence. And in fact, to remove that tree, we had to get permission from New South Wales Waterways. And they instructed us that we had to leave the stump. Yeah. So our plan is to work with New South Wales Waterways to look at how we're going to manage that creek and probably get expert advice on how to do it with them. So yeah, look, it's on my agenda as an important element, because I agree that every time we're having a storm, we're having more and more erosion at the bends, and it's not affecting just our property, it's other property owners. So yeah, so watch that space. So hopefully in the next month or so, we'll have something to present on where we're heading with that issue. But yeah, look, we're quite concerned about it too as engineers.
Thank you very much. Councillor Lawson.
It's pretty like to bring up that some years ago there was funding committed, actually from the funding that had to be committed by Shamrock for a grant for the riparian, to improve the riparian zone around the creek area around the Golden Fields. I think it was tree planting. I remember at primary school, but one of the creeks on the way to Bulldar, we planted all native trees along there. A lot of the introduced willow trees have been removed from creeks, because they're considered a weed, but we need to be looking at, what are they replaced with. So I think it would be a good idea to look into planting some of these natives that hold the bank together. I do notice the erosion is getting greater and greater, especially in that area below Lotus Street. It seems to be a lot wider than it used to be. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lawson. Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? If not, all in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Right, 8.4 monthly Shire presentation report. The recommendation of Council 1, receive and note the monthly Shire presentation report for July 2025. Do I have a motion, please? Councillor Cowan, second, please. Councillor Simpkin. Does the mover wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Cowan.
Yeah, Mr Mayor, thank you. Just a couple of matters, if I could. In relation to the sporting grounds, on field number 1, resurfacing of that oval. I just note that the grass growth is very limited, and the amount of soil that's put on that ground, it looks like it's going to inhibit the return of the surface of that ground in time for the users to the new summer users, being our Cricket Association and touch football and summer soccer. They will be very limited as to which grounds they can use there if that growth's not coming through. I just wonder if council has any plans to aerate it or to open it up a little bit to let that grass growth come. That's the first one. The other one is in relation to I noticed that we had playground maintenance and things done. I noticed that the Bell Park playground, that the Flying Fox has been removed. So obviously there must have been an incident there or something happened that has had it removed from that park. The post is still there, they're just taking away the equipment that operate the Bell Park Flying Fox. And the other matter in relation to Bell Park that I note is that the Kringle High School frequent that park weekly with staff supervision, but with children of a fairly old age who are allowed to use that playground equipment, which is mostly suitable for very young children. Most of these kids are probably aged between 13 and 16-year-old. And their supervision is that more than one person is allowed to operate on some of these bits of equipment which aren't designed for children of that age. I just wonder whether we should be putting up some sort of age restrictions or some sort of signage that maybe limits the people that can use that park. And the other matter up there is that it is subject to a little bit of night activity from vandalism and so on. I'm just wondering whether any security lights or some sort of monitoring should be placed around that park. The other only, yeah, I think that's all that I have in relation to that report. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Cohen. Through the General Manager.
Thank you, councillor Cohen. In relation to Long Field number 1, I did see the Parks and Gardens team down there earlier. We were there for some media at the pool and they were doing something, so I will hand that one to the acting director.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, I will have to look into that one. I haven't been here long enough to really keep up to that. But yeah, with the Flying Fox, yeah, I'm just not quite sure what went through, but I will chase it up with staff, whether it was a theft or whether it was damage. That's what I tell you, yeah, but thank you for bringing it to my attention. With respect to the signs, that's an interesting one. I'll have to look into that. I'm not sure if we can sign that.
Councillor Lawson.
Councillor Curran beat me to the punch about I've noticed that the Flying Fox had disappeared also, and I don't think it's vandalism because the cables have all gone as well, so I'm not sure if it's broken and it's been removed, so it's not used improperly while it's repaired, so I hope that that's in motion. The other thing that I have brought up several times is that when the climbing frame was put in, it is a requirement that the softball is at a certain depth. I believe that's fallen well below what it should, so we need to possibly look into adding some more shavings there as a matter of safety. Just if I could comment a little bit on the age ranges for some of the equipment. The equipment up the top under the shade structure, sorry, disclosure, I was very basically picked the equipment for this part, is obviously for smaller children. A lot of that equipment, like the spinner and that, is designed for use by obviously within reason, but I can certainly dig up what the specific limits and that are on those specific pieces of equipment, and then we could perhaps have a look at what Councillor was suggesting to make sure they're not being damaged. Thank you.
This will probably happen to the Flying Fox, so the larger child won't call it now. Anyone else wishing to speak to Councillor Robinson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Getting back to number 1 field, there was a very big low spot, but with the filling, they've got 2 now that are definitely holding water. And also, a lot of people have been telling me that things are improving as far as the parks and everything go. In particular, the amount of pride that's been put into the cemeteries right throughout the whole Shire, which is fantastic because it really needed it and they're actually delivering and coming forward, so thank you.
I think from what I can gather, the number 1 over was meant to be done over a couple of years. I think so they were going to put a certain amount on so the grass could rejuvenate through the soil and have another crack because they just couldn't lay, foot of soil or something, it might be. I think Councillor Cowan is right, probably might need a bit of a tickle up or throw a bit of seed out and see what happens, and just to make sure it is right. Anyone else wish to speak for or against the motion? If not, all in favour? Against? Carried unanimously, thank you. 8.5, tender evaluation, REG P001 2526 road safety barrier systems. A recommendation that Council 1 adopt the suppliers list below to be appointed to this contract as panel source suppliers to Liverpool Plain Shire Council for an initial period of 24 months from 1st of July 2025 to the 30th of June 2027. They being A, A1 Highways Proprietary Limited, B, Safe Direction Proprietary Limited, C, Destras Proprietary Limited, TA, DNP Fencing Contractors, D, Guardrail Infrastructure Proprietary Limited, T, Guardrail Installations of Australia, and E, Guardrail System Proprietary Limited, F, Industrial Galvanisers Corporation Proprietary Limited, TA Ingle Civil Products, G, the trustee for AJ and LJ Irwin Family Trust, TA Irwin Fencing Proprietary Limited, and H, RBK Proprietary Limited, TA RBK Civil Top Notch Fencing, and 2, allow provisions for a 12-month extension based on satisfactory supply performance, which may take this contract through to the 30th of June 2028. Do I have a motion? Councillor Simkin, second. Councillor Kane. Does the mover wish to speak to the motion?
Certainly not.
Anyone else wish to speak for or against the motion? If not, all in favour? Against? Carried, thank you. 9.1, monthly development and building statistics report. Recommendation of Council 1, receive and note the monthly development and building report. Do I have a motion, please? Councillor Simkin. Seconder, Councillor Rowell. Does the member wish to speak? Motion, Councillor Simkin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Understanding that the director has only been here for a little while, I suppose there's just a few interesting things. There's a note on page 278 that we have a environmental planning and assessment statement of expectations for 150-day turnaround on applications. Coincidentally, we're bang on 115 days. Having a look at the data as best as a layperson can, you can see obviously there's been some pretty dramatic drops in application numbers and values to overall applications. But if we having a look at our average assessment days, we're in the same position for assessment as we were in the 2024 year, with some $20 million less applications. But what's even further interesting to that is the 2023 year, which was at 39 million. So some, what's that, $23 million more development we currently have, was down to 75. So there's obviously something interesting going on there, not understating or not dismissing the fact that they may be very complex applications. There could be any number of variety, but it's probably more something that I want on the record as a priority around those assessment dates, particularly given we're going to be having a look at a growth management strategy, and those assessment dates are going to form a fairly important part of getting that growth management part of that growth management strategy happening in practicality. That's it. More just to know on my part. Thank you.
Further general matters, does anyone want to comment?
Ron, Julie?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for that comment, Councillor. I have made similar observations, so I will be having a look at that, and as part of the key performance indicators that have been set by the General Manager, for the executive staff, that is one of the issues that I'm having a look at in terms of continuous improvement. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does anyone else wish to, Councillor Robinson?
Yeah, like, I'm just backing up what councillor, Charlie has just said, like, we're nearly a third of where we were years ago, like, it's just been not a gradual decline, it's just been a big slump. And like, if we're going to get this place up and running, we just have to try, address those issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Robinson. Councillor Lawson?
Just want to say, I do agree that development applications have certainly been down in the area of new residential builds. However, those previous years we saw with the huge spikes, they were mainly due to large commercial DAs that took up the majority of that value for those years. So it's not so much that things have suddenly dropped off, it's just that it was actually spiked up by those particular projects that were, those particular DAs, that came in those years.
Very good comment, Councillor Lawson. Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? If not, all in favour? Against? Very unanimously, thank you. 9.2, adoption of draft growth management and housing strategy. The recommendation of Council 1 adopts the draft growth management and housing strategy appended Annexure A. Do I have a motion, please? Councillor Kane, do I have a second, please? Councillor Lawson? Does the member wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Kane?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I do. I'd actually just like to say it reads a very, very good document now. The changes that have been made, only small in places, have made the document read much more in an attractive light for some of our communities. I just quote page 319, community profiles, key opportunities and constraints. There's a considerable amount of alteration to some of the old statements that were made in there that were quite archaic. I'm surprised I didn't talk about steam trains. That were really, really need to be brought up to modern day standards. So, I did speak privately to David, one of the consultants, and he was very, very forthcoming and very easy to communicate with. And, a lot of the recommendations have been adopted, so I think it's a wonderful document. It's really bounced ahead on what we had. So I hope going forward that this is thrown to prospective developers and people that actually really look at Liverpool Plains as what it should be, a growth area. So I think it was money very well spent. I'm very, very pleased to see the final document, or the draft document, before it gets to me. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Well said, Councillor Kane. Councillor Lawson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, very happy to see this finally on the table for adoption. I know that it's been a long time coming, but I was keen to see some of the changes from the original draft that we had, and I'm very happy with where we're at the moment. I think the document leaves us a lot of paths forward, and in particular, I'm looking forward to developing the place plans that it points to as well, particularly for Greenwood Werris Creek, to drill down a little bit more about how we're exactly going to manage growth in those areas. So very much looking forward to that. I know that it has taken longer than we would like, but I think that we've got a great structure to go forward with. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lawson. Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? Councillor Cohen?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just too would like to just congratulate the overall presentation of this report as compared to where it was. It's certainly an upgrade. But I do have one little question. I don't know if it can be answered off the top of the head from anybody, but in relation to some of the statistics that were used in this report, I'm just a little bit amused or concerned as to when some of the data was received. I note that the percentages of unoccupied private dwellings in relation to Werris Creek in Corindai on pages 298 and 300 of our business paper, quoting Corindai at 12% with 139 unoccupied private dwellings, and Werris Creek with 9.7% and 66 unoccupied dwellings. I'm just wondering where this information was drawn from, and maybe whether it was through a census which was outdated or what it may have come from. Yeah.
Go through the general manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Cullen. So yes, all data contained within the strategy has come from the most recent census, which was 2021. Sadly, with any strategy, the data, as soon as you adopt it, the following days, the data is out of date. I suspect the next census would show very different data and statistics for much of this. I think the key message, though, would be that the data that is illustrated within the strategy doesn't impact or affect the overall, I guess, direction of the strategy or those 16 key actions. But yes, the data does seem out of date, but it is based on the most recent census.
Yeah, and I'd just like to comment, I'd just like to thank the general manager for being a major driver behind this to get it over the line. So it's great to see it in front of us. Is anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? If not, all in favour? Against? Carried unanimously, I think. 9.3, the constitution of local advisory committees and appointment of community members. I'll read the recommendation. The council one extends its appreciation to all members of the Liverpool Plains Shire community who submitted an expression of interest to serve on a local advisory committee for the remainder of the current 2024-2028 term of council, and to establish the Currabubula Local Advisory Committee for the remainder of the 24-28 term of council, and adopt the terms of reference appended at Annexure A. 3, formally appoint those members of the community who have expressed their interest in serving on the Currabubula Local Advisory Committee to that committee for the remainder of the 24-28 term of council. And 4, note that expressions of interest from members of the Liverpool Plains Shire community to serve on locally based local advisory committees for the remainder of the current 24-28 council term has been extended to Sunday the 14th of September 2025. Do I have a motion, please? Councillor Lawson, seconded Councillor Simpkin. Does the mover wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Lawson.
Just to say thank you to everyone who did put in an expression of interest. Obviously, we've had a very good response from Currabubula with 9 expression of interest received, so it's good to see us be able to re-establish that one. Hopefully with the extension of date for the expressions of interest for the other localities, we might see some more expression of interest come in so that we can establish flags in those areas as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lawson. Anyone else wishing to speak? Councillor Robertson.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. On the previous end of the expressions of interest, on the 15th of Friday the 15th, I actually dropped in 5. They weren't put into the system and they were just sitting out the back here. So I was just wondering how a mistake like that happens. Thank you.
Through the General Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Robertson, for the question. And I was briefed on this just prior to the council meeting by my executive assistant. So the EOI is obviously managed through our online consultation platform, we'll say. So the attachment that has been provided in your business papers, attached to the late report, was all those EOIs that were received via your say. I understand you've got some printed surveys and that's been handed into customer service. So unfortunately, it wasn't captured in as part of these, and I apologise for that. Now I know that these exist. I will follow them up, and what we will do is bring that report to the September meeting.
Yeah, a lot of people had trouble trying to access the system to get it done online. That was the main reason why they were hard copies. Just couldn't. they go and it just goes round and round, so.
Okay, thank you for the feedback. We certainly didn't receive that feedback directly, but as I said, we will consider these 5 EOIs.
Thank you very much. You right, Councillor Robinson?
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Does anyone else wish to speak for Councillor Kane?
Yeah, just one question, Mr. Mayor. This will really, the adoption of this really means we will have no longer a 355 committee within our Shire, will we? That was the resolution we went down 2 meetings ago, so that will actually be LAC now.
To the General Manager.
Thank you, Councillor Kane, thank you, Mr Mayor. We haven't had a formal Section 355 committee now for many years, I think around 2017, after the OLG, issued a circular encouraging councils to look at whether those committees were Section 355 or advisory. So these advisory committees, the Currabubula one, will function as it did in the previous term, but it wasn't a Section 355 then. It was still an advisory.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, I think some of the public are still unaware of what a 355 committee actually entails. It's where I truly want to go down that track, but I don't think they understand the formality of forming a 355 committee. So we've got to sort of get them together and say, right, this is the way what we should go. It's a bit like Walladar, they've got a committee, but they haven't sort of put in for a lag. So they sort of, there's people in the West that probably, they might have to join to form a committee if they want to go down that track. That's going to be for us just to try and lead them along. Anyone else wish to speak for or against the motion? So, Councillor Simpkin.
I'm really glad that the report allows for that extension of time for people. My only question, I know that council did some media around it last time, but if we could really continue to smash home that media, because I think that this is a really good opportunity that hopefully we can put in front of people. Because just perusing some of the names, there's some really good community members who have put their hand up. There's a lot of really good community members out there who haven't put their hand up, and I think there's a lot of value. So if we really drive that media over the next fortnight, that would be fantastic. Thank you.
We'll see Councillor Simpkin. Councillor Robinson.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So can you just run me past, so anyone that's wanting to join to be in the LAG has to join the WCA, or is the LAG group independent? Thank you.
I'll pass that to the General Manager.
Crikey. Thanks, Mr Mayor, and thanks, Councillor Robertson. No, so in answer to your question, the WCA is an incorporated association that is independent of council. It has nothing to do in terms of our community framework. If there are sufficient EOIs from the Walladar community, then what would happen is that officers would recommend the constitution of the Walladar Local Advisory Committee. Thank you, Christy. But they are two completely separate bodies. So there are other incorporated associations throughout the Shire, the Liverpool Plains Business Chamber, ARM in Werris Creek. I'm sure there are others that council has strong relationships with, and of course we continue to, but our local advisory committees are created by council.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? If not, all in favour? Against? Carried out. Thank you very much. 10 delegates reports is nil. 11 notice of motions, questions with notice nil. 12 confidential matters. The recommendation the council considers the confidential reports listed below in a meeting closed to the public in accordance with section 10A(2) of the Local Government Act of 1993. 12.1, the mayoral minute appointment of the acting general manager. 12.2, the appointment of independent member to Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee. These matters are considered to be confidential under section 10A(2)(a) of the Local Government Act, and the council is satisfied that discussion of this matter in an open meeting would on balance be contrary to the public interest as it deals with personal matters concerning particular individuals other than councillors. 12.3, rates legal proceedings. This matter is considered to be confidential under section 10A brackets 2-G of the Local Government Act. And 12.4, unsolicited offer to purchase council property. This matter is considered to be confidential under section 10A brackets 2-C of the Local Government Act. Do I have a motion, please? Councillor Cullen, Member Craig. Seconder, Councillor Kane. We're all in favour, we move into confidential.
Do we get to say
We
anything?
move into confidential.
Okay.
Is that right? Against? So we'll let it
Okay.
go.
You know what to read?
You're not there. Well, there you go.
Yeah, it's just a delay.
So the report on confidential matters, 12.1, the mayoral minute, the appointment of the acting general manager. The resolution, as per the business paper, was a unanimous decision. Thank you. 12.2, the appointment of independent member to Audit Risk and Improvement Committee. The resolution of the recommendation was passed unanimously. 12.3, the rates legal proceedings, the recommendation of the council, 1, receive and note the briefing on the legal matter detailed in this report, and 2, authorise the general manager to negotiate a settlement of the proceedings, the best possible terms of the council. The resolution was unanimous. And 12.4, the unsolicited offer to purchase the council property, the recommendation was amended. The council, 1, not proceed with negotiations with interested party in relation to their proposal to purchase or lease the old Crindle Water Tower, lot 100 DP 1167687, being 33 Stewart Street, Corindai, and that resolution was passed unanimously. Thank you. The meeting closed at 5:04. 5:04. And thank you very much.